You gave a list of 3 teams. Teams that are not being picked to make some kind of a run. Which one do you think will, out of this group? LSU, Texas A&M, or Kentucky? Who from that group will make a quote-unquote surprise run? Not saying they're making the national championship or anything, but a surprise overachievement this year from that group.
That's a good question.
Because you asked it?
Because I asked it. I think it's A&M. And I did an interview. I did 2 interviews today related to A&M. One for my podcast, and then I was on Texas Radio earlier today. We're only a couple years removed from them having the number 1 overall recruiting class. And they've lost a good chunk of that class, but some of those guys remain. They've recruited well since then. And I think Elko's just a much better coach in this stage of his career than Jimbo Fisher was. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Jimbo Fisher, clearly top coach. But he'd lost his fastball. So for me, A&M feels like the obvious choice. With Kentucky, they have to play Ole Miss. They have to play at Tennessee. They have to play at Texas, and they host Georgia. And that's 4 really, really tough games. With Auburn, with their quarterback situation, you just can't be overly high on Auburn with Peyton Thorne there. A&M, their schedule's not easy by any stretch, and they start off with Notre Dame. But they have Texas. They don't have Alabama. They don't have Ole Miss. They don't have Georgia. They have Texas, and they have. That's kind of it, right? They don't play. They play Missouri, and that's an interesting game, right? Missouri is going to come into that game probably undefeated, and if they can win that game, Missouri should be undefeated when they play at Alabama. If A&M can win that game, then A&M should be undefeated when they host LSU. Which, if they could win that, their next 3 after that are at South Carolina, New Mexico State, at Auburn. There's like this weird, crazy world where if they could do that, they could be playing Texas for a chance to go to the playoff and chance to win the SEC. So A&M, to me, they're the most talented team of those 3 teams, and I feel like their schedule is the best, gives them the best opportunity.
So I actually agree with you. I've been kind of on this Texas A&M is going to overachieve drum.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm trying to hold back a sneeze here. Allergies getting to me. Anyway, I'm back. All right. But I've been on this for a little while because how many years did we do the A&M's roster is too good to lose conversation? And we always pushed back on that because it's the SEC. All of the rosters are good.
Right.
The bad recruiting teams in the SEC signed top 30 classes in America. This idea that the team is just going to win on its own with bad coaching was always stupid. However, the rosters were legitimately talented. I'm with you. I think that they have upgraded at coach. The roster remains quite good. They have portaled extremely well, and they're good. Their floor at quarterback is good. I don't know how great he can be, the difference in those 2 words, but the floor is good. And so Texas A&M, if we look up and they're a 9-win football team, you should not be surprised. I don't think they're winning 9 games, but if they do, I'll be like, okay.
And we talked about this a little bit over in Dallas last week. A&M going 9-3, 8-4 under Jimbo Fisher felt like such a burden, right? It's like, they've underachieved yet again. They'll never get it going. They go 8-4, 9-3 this year. You're going to be like, man, that team is probably going to be in the playoff a year from now. They'll be one of the favorites to get there a season from now. It's incredible the breath of fresh air that Mike Elko has brought to that program. Because last year, it was just a burden. It was, A&M fans did not want to deal with it. And now I think they're excited again.
If they beat Notre Dame in week 1, what is Texas A&M's ranking when Missouri comes to town 5 weeks later on October 5th? What are they ranked if they beat Notre Dame when they play Missouri?
A&M is probably going to start the year in the top 20, right? They're probably like 18th or
something like that. So
if they beat Notre Dame, they're going to jump to like 12th, 13th. And then if they win the next 4, they're probably a top 10 team. Probably, at worst, they're like 11th.
There is a you don't have to stretch your mind scenario that says that Texas A&M Missouri is at least a top 15 matchup in College Station, possibly a top 10 matchup.
It is. It's easily the best game that week. Ole Miss is South Carolina, Tennessee at Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Alabama. Auburn, Georgia is great for historical purposes, but
yeah, people are going to pretend that game's going to be great. It won't be.
Yeah.
Not in Athens, it won't be.
No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. But it is a rivalry game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, A&M is probably the correct answer. I like Kentucky this year, though. I think they bounce back. I've been talking about Vandergriff a bit, and there's no shame that you couldn't beat out Carson Beck. The guy is likely to be the first pick in the draft. You could be the second best quarterback in college football, and it doesn't matter because you're playing behind the best one. So, I mean, Kentucky winning 8 games this year is not going to be surprising. Are they going to be a top 25 team? I don't know, maybe towards the bottom of the poll, but I mean, you really feel like when you look at their schedule, they're Georgia, at Tennessee, at Texas, and at Ole Miss. Those are 4 really hard games to win, but they can win the rest of their games. Southern Miss, South Carolina, Ohio, Vandy, Florida, Auburn, Murray State, and Louisville, they can win those games.
They most certainly can.
Yeah. Auburn will win a game that you're just like, wow. And on this schedule that I have, my handy-dandy helmet schedule here, believe it or not, it is against Texas A&M is the one that I've got on there.
Might be Oklahoma in week 5.
I want to know what time that game is. If you told me it was at night right now, I would tell you to probably pick Auburn.
We can't allow that to happen.
If Oklahoma loses that game, they're going to have a real tough time being 500.
Yeah.
You notice I didn't put Oklahoma in that tier, by the way.
I agree with you not putting them in that tier.
I had them 10th in the conference when I did my picks. 10th. But I have them going 7-5. I have them starting off, they'll lose to Tennessee. I have them losing to Texas, to Ole Miss, to Alabama, and to LSU. I do have them beating Missouri. Just because I couldn't get behind Missouri going 11-1. I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
Gosh, and don't sleep on Houston or Tulane. I don't think they're going to lose those games, but let's say Tulane goes into Norman and wins. Would you think, oh, what?
No, I would. I would think, oh, what?
You would think so?
Yeah, I would. Tulane going to Oklahoma, that would be something.
Don't count out former Mississippi State head football coach John Sumrall, okay?
I don't.
More of this when we